kitchen. Let loose in the kitchen, I just kind of leave because I get scared. I don't know what to do. But a cookbook, I can, you know, take a recipe and I can play with it. I go, you know, actually, it's funny, you know, when you're married, one of the things that is always interesting is negotiating around the kitchen. I'll be in there, I'll going, well, we don't have any butternut squash. I'll use pumpkin, you know. And Michael will go, it says butternut squash. It's like, I get real easy with, you know, flexible when I have the recipe. But if I'm faced with a butternut squash, I'll just stare at it until it dies. You know, I don't know what to do. So I like cookbooks. So.
Just a quick question. If, for those of us that are trying to graduate in June, how many, because I don't quite understand the degree conferral process, and how many ILPs can be out there waiting to be approved, and can you explain that just a little bit on, for those of us that's all we have left to do?
This is really a good question. If you want to graduate in June, you have to have everything done by the previous term. So you have to have everything done by the 1st of April.
So all the ILPs must be approved?
They have to be done.
They have to be done.
They don't have to be approved. I think actually the submission date for ILPs is like the 1st of March. A flood of ILPs washes over the faculty on the 1st of March. Hundreds of ILPs are because everybody's doing on the same schedule.
Okay.
So it doesn't hurt to be a little earlier. The reason for having that deadline is because the flood is encroaching. Everybody is, you know, reading as fast as they can that whole month.
Okay.
But they want you to know if something is not going to work so that you can enroll in something in spring. You can take graded classes your last term, but you cannot be doing work that needs assessment because there isn't time to assess it. Okay. So that's the reason for that schedule. And June is the most popular time to graduate.
Right.
So.
Is that true for the advanced project?
The advanced project is a little different.
Oh, okay.
The absolute drop-dead deadline for having had your final committee meeting is the 1st of May.
Okay.
And in order to have that, you have to have an approved advanced project.
Oh boy.
So that would mean that you should be, you know, backing everything up. And I'm really glad you brought that up because a lot of students are like thinking to graduate in June, I have to have everything done by June. But in fact, you have to have it done earlier in the term. You know, so in terms of your planning, you want to plan to be, I would suggest doing ILPs between now and February, and then be, you know, moving into the advanced project. You can be overlapping them, obviously. How long does it take to write an ILP? As long as it takes. You can sit down and do an ILP well in a weekend. If you use that, if you carefully read the actual competence statement and the facets and narratives, if you have references already there.
So the last 4 years I've been in the program was a little too long.
You were diverging, Dennis. You were diverging.
You are where almost every student is that wants to graduate this year. Everybody puts off the ILP. Everybody. It's
That's
such a mystery.
Yeah, I've done that though,
Exactly.
Patricia. I've pounded out a rough draft and in a weekend, and then the second weekend I've just gone through and proofed it and submitted it, and it didn't come back. It was good.
Wow. See, that's
awesome.
You know, don't think that the ILP has to be 10 weeks of work.
Okay.
But there is going to have to be, you know, in order to do that efficiently, you're going to have figured out the competence statement, have figured out what you're going to do, have kind of got it outlined in your mind, and have ordered the books so they're there at the ready to do the references. Generally, by the way, you want to think about always that you should have about a third books, a third journals, and a third, no more than a third internet researches. Now, obviously, you can now get journals right online. That's not considered an internet reference.
Okay.
That's a journal. But you can access it. You know, it's not how you access it, it's how it's published. An internet resource is something that is just published online, not anywhere else.
How many references usually?
For an ILP, I always figure, you know, if it's a 10-page paper, ILP should be about 10 pages, somewhere around 6 to 7. You're looking at about 2/3 of what the total is. You you know, we got 5 more minutes, then we're gonna bring our person in, but we'll have more time for more of this. I have a feeling this is useful.
It's very
It
useful.
is very useful.
We haven't even touched upon advanced processing.
So,
Oh,
like,
gosh.
when somebody reviews your paper, you say it never comes back to us, meaning like for revision, or we never know what they think about your paper?
Actually, that's a good question. If it gets approved, you never actually know what they think. You just know it got approved. In other words, you don't get oh wow, this part was good, that part was good. It's either approved or sent back.
And when it's approved, how do they approve it? Do they actually comment it on the paper?
No.
Just get your grade. You just get.
You just,
Sometimes you wait a very long time to know that it's approved.
this has actually been, I want to say, we love Monica, the new person who's doing this. I mean, I just got a note the other day saying, you know, here's an ILP for review. Here's the date it's due back, you know.
When do you pay?
Not until after it's done.
Not until it's done.
That's
If it was paid for when it was approved, then that would speed the process up.
It's paid for it when it's approved.
When it's approved.
Not when it's submitted.
So if DePaul needs the money, they would move
That's a
faster
good,
on
maybe
it.
that's why they've suddenly gotten
Yeah.
deadlines for us.
Yeah.
But definitely, it's very much improved. We used to have problems. It was like, you know, it would just go downtown and then, you know, and like, what is there, paralysis going on, you know, and for this poor students writing to me, and I have no idea. I can't get anybody to answer either. It's been very frustrating. We've got a new person, and she's sensational. We
Good.
love it.
How
And
much
so the
does
deadline.
an ILP cost?
150.
150.
150.
Mm-hmm.
150.
Getting back to the scarf, when is it appropriate to turn in additional, like instead of just a paper? When is it required
No,
to?
it's never
It's
instead
never.
of a paper.
No,
No,
not
in
instead of,
addition to-
but to
in
supplement
addition.
or in addition to the
Yeah,
paper. Is
additional
it ever
critical
required?
Well, you know, another good question. Did I answer yours?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
The supplemental thing is actually, you should consider that just supplemental. There are some circumstances where it would be sort of laughable to not have a supplement. So, for example, if you are doing public speaking, a paper about how good you are at public speaking would be like, right? So people who've done that competence usually have some kind of a tape or videotape or something like that that shows they can do it. But I would say the need for the supplemental is entirely contingent on what it is. If you have done a garden plan, you probably want to include the garden plan. If you have done some craft work or artwork for the A's, probably include some photographs of it. But the biggest problem is more that people think that the supplementary material is the ILP.
Yeah.
And they hand in the scarf, you know, and they're like, you know.
So in that instance, if she wrote the paper and didn't turn in a scarf, you'd say, turn in a scarf.
No.
No.
No?
No.
You're doing fine.
There's only
I'm
one
confused.
thing you can, like, there's one competency where you can show what you've done as a
Artifact,
piece
right?
of art.
Yeah, and actually that is only done through the art share, and that's not really available to the online students, unfortunately.
Oh.
And that's something we've been actually talking about, where there could be some kind of virtual art share where you could we could punch a button and you could sing to us. But if you are in Chicago, you can come, or close enough to come, and you have an art, you can come and demonstrate it on an evening. Another thing, anybody here speak another language?
I do.
Ah, yes. Have you done that competence where you just...
Oh, yes, I did it with the director.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just speak to one of the faculty, get interviewed, and get that attested. So there's a few ways that it doesn't have to be written, but there are very few. And in the focus area particularly, people often think, can I just turn in that report I did for work? And the answer?
No.
I have a question. Is there a pass-fail grade?
Yes.
Okay, that sucks, because if I wanted to do, it was for you. How are you going to get graded for your GPA?
At this point, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Oh.
There is this weird thing that a pass is equivalent to an A
Yeah.
in figuring.
Yeah.
But not for your weighted GPA.
Yeah. There was one student who took all her classes pass-fail until the last class, and she got an A, and she had a 4.0 GPA, having never actually gotten graded. We all thought that was just a little bit questionable.
Yeah, don't you have to have so many hours that go towards that?
I think they changed
yeah,
that.
Yeah, they changed that. Yeah, you have to
she was sort of a blue scarf
yeah.
kind of student.
I won't be mad.
How about work certifications? Can that help support?
It can help support.
Okay.
Again, the bottom line is paper, yes, supplemental possible.
Okay.
But the supplement is only a supplement. You can have any number of things without a supplement, but the supplement never replaces the ILP.
So if I take one of my paintings and I take a cheap flight to Chicago for an hour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
God, yeah.
I did also my electronic art. I'm doing one on electronic art because I designed a.
But that's only for the A1A, which you probably have already covered.
Yeah, I wrote it already, so it doesn't matter.
Forget that.